Welcome back to Rehab Renegade. So we all want a good back crack. A lot of the times I get a question of, should I see a chiropractor or should I see a physical therapist for a back manipulation? Even sitting in a session, a lot of times I see people self-cracking their back, and most of the times if they're seeing me, it means that that motion hasn't really been super helpful for them. So there is a group of people that it will be helpful with. In the clinic, we use a clinical practice guideline that goes through a couple guidelines to let us know if this will be right for you. I just want you to consider the fact that if you have a disc irritation or injury along with some sciatic nerve involvement, a lot of times a twisting moment, especially with speed, is likely to irritate it. You got to think of that injury as a cut or maybe even a scab, and if we keep picking that scab, it's not going to get better. If you are interested in a spine manipulation or you're kind of considering cracking your own back, here are the guidelines that we use. The people we see benefit most from spine manipulation are people who have had pain for less than 16 days. A lot of times this group doesn't necessarily need a whole lot of exercise to get better. One manipulation might do it. The other thing we need to consider is if the pain is traveling down the leg. If the pain is traveling beyond the knee, a lot of times these people do not benefit from spine manipulation. The next thing is people who have a hypomobile back, which means when I go in and press the back, it's very stiff, especially compared to the other segments. This is hard for you to interpret on your own. You might feel like you're stiff, but it doesn't mean that the back is not moving well. I'd recommend that if you go see a PT or a chiropractor, you bring this up. You make sure that they're giving you a nice push and they're letting you know if the vertebrae is really stiff or if it's moving fine. And the last thing that's kind of tricky is we tend to see manipulation work better in a group that has relatively normal hip rotation.
Quick pause. If this is you and your hips are stiff, you might find that mobilizing the hips is actually what will help your back pain.
So in the clinical practice guideline, people who have at least 35 degrees of hip internal rotation tend to do better. The way that you can check this is position. I want to see that the foot can rotate out at least 35 degrees. Same thing on the other side. If we're only getting to about here or here, you may not benefit as much from the manipulation. Okay, now let's get to the part that you've all been waiting for. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna lay on your side. You don't need a table like this. It can be right on your bed. You're gonna straighten your bottom leg. Now, I'll say this first. If your pain is on the left side, I would lay on your right side, right? If your pain is on your right side, I would lay on your left side. So let's assume that the pain is on my left side. I'm gonna bring this leg up. I'm going to hook it behind the other one, and then I'm going to slide toward the edge, and I'm going to try to hang this off the bed. The more I can hang this off the side, the more leverage it gives me. I don't have to work as hard. So from here, I'll put a little pressure on the knee. I'll actually push the pelvis this way, and I'll gently start the rock back. And I just got a little bit of a pop there. So for me, it felt fine, it wasn't painful, it didn't require much. I didn't have to do a big strong thrust. It was just the twisting itself that did it. If I wasn't getting it, what I might do is as I'm twisting back, as I start to hit a little bit of tension, I might just give a little quick, subtle push, and that's it. So I hope that helps. Like I said, a manipulation or a crack is fine, but a lot of times it's going to be a lot earlier in the process. If it's been months or even years, a lot of times you're not going to benefit from these manipulations too much. You might get a little short-term relief, but what you'll find is it's actually the exercise, the strengthening of the back, mobilization of the hips that tends to be more helpful.